Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, who is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the sun sets free, who is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, oh, you say I'm love when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I'm yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, you say I'm love when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I'm yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Oh, I believe. Yes, I believe what you say of me. I
Well, good evening. I want to welcome you to this book launched tonight, and I want to thank you for joining me tonight and getting started here with a couple songs, and then this video that portrays my new book. Somebody was saying to me today, I think it was one of my kids. They said, "Dad, it's not a new book, but it isn't a new book, and it is a new book." It's two books into one, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But this book is a compilation of the first two books that I wrote in 2015 and 2016 on spiritual identity. And it's been a message that I've been sharing for probably 30 years in ministry. When I first began to understand it myself, it was up here, a lot of theory. Really wasn't a part of my life in a heart matter and an experience. And as I've grown in the Lord these last 30 years or so, it's become a part of me, and I've been able to literally teach it around the world. And so I'm thankful for that. My book, The Identity Driven Life, and then The Identity Driven Life 2 sequel, has literally been to Australia and to China and to South America and different places. So I'm grateful for that. But, I began to think a couple months ago that it's been 7 years. And really, a lot of people didn't know I had a second book. When I went to the publisher, I was a new author and I wanted to do one book. And he said, nobody's going to buy a 350-page book from a new author. I said, great. Okay. So anyway, I fought with him about that. And then he didn't like the title. He said, it's too close to the purpose-driven life. And I said, that's the point. And so we went round and round about that. And I ended up winning that little skirmish. And so we decided to do a first book and a second book. And so the second book was called The Identity Driven Life 2, the sequel. But most people really don't know that was written. And a lot of times they'll say, I've read your book. And I said, which one? On identity. And I said, which one? And they said, well, you only have one. And I said, no, I have two. And I have a corresponding study guide for each of them as well. And so I began to think a couple months ago, you know what? It's time to really put it in one spot. This is my 26th book, and I've been writing for a while now. And even though 350 pages plus is a lot, you certainly can go through it at your own pace. And 21 chapters in it, and we're going to look at that in a moment, talk a little bit about that. But I didn't do anything with the study guides. Are still available on Amazon. You can use the first and the second, kind of figure it out, split it up as you read this one complete book. So thank you for joining me tonight. And I wanted to get right into it. I want to explain, my first book, I was able to get some well-known writers to sign off on the first book. And I was thankful for that. But one of my heroes in the faith and understanding spiritual identity and resolving spiritual conflicts is a fellow by the name of Dr. Neil Anderson. Maybe you've heard of him. He's written Bondage Breaker and Victory Over the Darkness and a number of other books that have been bestsellers. And so he was able to share just a nice something about the book. He read it and was able to share something in the opening pages of that first book. But I want you to listen to his video about how important he believes our spiritual identity is, and why this book and why this subject is extremely important to every believer. Now, I said every believer, and I'm not just talking about men. I'm not talking about women. I remember my publisher saying to me, and I'll show you this in a moment. Well, my publisher said to me, he said, who's your target? And I said, well, quite frankly, I want to reach men, right? I want to reach men like myself. And he said, men are not going to read this. This is a woman's subject, spiritual identity. I thought that's kind of interesting. But listen, all of us need to know who we are. Don't need to be a woman. Don't need to be a man. A man and a woman need to know who they truly are in Jesus Christ if they're saved by the grace of God. And so notice what Dr. Neil Anderson has to say. I'm going to bring it up and let you listen to it.
Did you know that you could get paid up to $18,000 in tax credits? To put these
I've been sharing about the whole idea of
who we are in Christ, what it really means to be a child of God. I'm going through this list in Who I Am in Christ. The book I wrote several years ago. It's kind of one of my sentimental favorites because there's nothing more important to me than to help people understand that, what it really means to be a child of God. And why do we need to know that? Well, for one reason, no person can consistently behave in a way that's inconsistent with what they believe about themselves. So if I think I'm just a loser, or I'm lame, or I'm trying to live up to somebody else's expectation, I never ever really truly get there. No matter how hard you try, somebody's going to come along with hostile rejection and criticism and put me down, and there I go trying to pick myself up by my own bootstraps, and it just doesn't really work. And secondly, I can tell you from experience, the last thing the devil wants you to know is who you are in Christ. Because the person who knows what it means to be a child of God, to be seated with Christ in the heavenlies, is the most secure person around. Because you're in touch and your soul is in union with the God of the universe. I mean, Satan can't touch me. I'm a child of God. 1 John 5 says, Satan can't touch me. And so that is just critically important. But it affects how you live. It affects, if you know who you are, you're just living off the salvation that God gives to you. I like what John Stott said about that. He said, in practice, we should constantly be reminding ourselves of who we are. We need to talk to ourselves.